Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the penultimate session of Affiliate Summit East. Black Hat Link Building for Porn Affiliates. Oh no, sorry, that was the other one. My name's Jim Banks. I'm going to be moderating the panel. We've got a tremendous panel here for you. First off, we have Sarah DiDiego, who's an attorney based in California, I believe, and she practices as DiDiego Law. We then have Susannah Booth-Weinmiller, who's the senior manager at Union Square Media, who I believe do a sort of Child of the Month club from
yes,
on a continuity program.
Yes,
is that
exactly.
right?
That's right.
We then have Vladimir Karetnikov, who's a media buyer from Westwood Promotions, and finally we have Tom Cohn, who I believe is based here in New York. He's an attorney from LeClair Ryan. So we're obviously going to be talking primarily about compliance, and quite often compliance is one of those topics that is taken with a little bit of a pinch of salt. We've got a fairly detailed amount of information to cover in a relatively short space of time. We're going to take some Q&A at the end. Is this our presentation?
Yeah, go back to the first page though. There you go.
Sure. That'll be Thomas.
Sarah, do you want to start?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tom Cohn, as you heard, and I'm based here in New York with LeClair Ryan. Before I jump in, I just want to give you some of my background. I worked at the FTC for 17 years, both in their headquarters and their New York office, which I ran. So the past 4 years, I've been in private practice representing lots of affiliates, lots of advertisers, some networks, and everything else. So our session is titled, well, the beginning of it is titled Flogs, Farticles. So let's just jump right in with the flogs and the farticles. FTC really didn't know what was going on 5 years ago, but they quickly got up to speed as to what unscrupulous affiliate marketers were doing in terms of fake formats like investigative news reports and made up TV channels and the like. And they finally cracked down in April of last year and brought 10 cases against individual affiliate marketers. One of those 10 was against Copiac, but specifically for its internal, its own affiliate marketing conduct. So those 10 cases all had fake news articles, fake health alerts, representing that it was some investigative journalist, third-party, inquiry that established how great these colon cleansers and acai berry products were. And that's pretty much the gist of all 10 of these cases they brought last April. This next slide isn't from Copiac's case, but it's from one of the individual affiliate marketer cases the FTC brought. I forgot which one, but the exhibits to these cases filed by the FTC all looked pretty much similar, and this is just an example of one particular Farticle page, and you can see what pissed the FTC off, obviously, was just a whole fabricated out of whole cloth, investigative news report, and the FTC is really determined to crack down on these and send a message that.
So Tom, do you have any numbers as the sort of? Clearly these types of pages were very, very successful, which is why people were running them so many. Do you have any kind of insight into the numbers of
how
sales that were being made and that sort of thing?
Well, I don't remember the exact numbers, but judging by the settlements that have been reached, and 8 of these 10 cases have settled, the amount of the monetary judgment in each case, the FTC pretty much based it on what they thought the affiliate grossed from these pages. And I remember representing 2 of these 10 affiliates, even carving out the stuff that wasn't fake, like dating or whatever, just looking at the purely fake stuff, it ranged from high 6 figures to 8 figures that each individual affiliate marketer made off of these types of pages. So then you can go to the next slide. Yeah, like I said, 8 of these 10 cases have now settled, and the orders are pretty stringent in terms of any product claims have to be substantiated, and any fake formats are banned, and monitoring that's really the news here, is that they put into these orders such stringent monitoring provisions, whether you're acting as a network or as an affiliate or an advertiser. They're putting in provisions that kind of change the whole model. If you're put under one of these orders, it can pretty much put you out of business as an affiliate or as a network, because everything has to be pre-vetted, screened before anything gets published, and then if you're an advertiser or a network, you got to kick off and don't pay and terminate anyone who screws up, any affiliate who has any fake or bad stuff. So the FTC is determined to change the model, and if you're unlucky enough to be sued and put under order by the FTC, these order provisions are so tough that they kind of act as a ban against affiliate marketing. So, and the Copiac case, actually they got off fairly easily, I think. 1.3 million was the monetary judgment, but most of that is suspended due to inability to pay, and they're out of the business. They're out of the network business. So, I imagine that's one reason they had no problem taking this order.
Why don't we go
Yeah.
ahead? Can you go back to the example?
Oh, to the Farticle? Yeah.
Vlad, why don't you explain why these converted so well? What about it?
Well, basically, for those that don't understand yet how this Farticle thing works, basically it's posing as a news article. So when the consumer reads it, they don't think they're looking at an advertisement; they're looking at a news report. So it kind of just builds an instant trust, but it's completely fake. Like this reporter just keeps being used over and over again, like that lady you see. That's not a real reporter, that's not a real article.
She actually is a real reporter, but she's
Okay,
a
right.
reporter in South America.
She's not
who definitely did not take acai berry and lose 25 pounds.
She's actually French.
Or French.
Right. But yeah, see, the reason it converts well is because it's not people don't think it's an advertisement, but it is. And yeah.
But it's obviously got all the right components. It's got a bit of social
Right.
proof to
Yeah.
try and give it some
Yeah,
clarity.
there's
It's got fake advertising, which effectively is
Yeah.
just again makes it look like a sort of traditional news site.
And
Yes.
it's validated, right? It looks so validated by all these news sites, CNN and whatnot.
Yeah, the
ABC.
fake badges, like I don't think it showed up, but they have like weather on the right side to make it look like it's an actual news website, but it definitely isn't.
Yeah, and when FTC filed its exhibits in all 10 of these cases, they even included consumer complaints that said, I did a search and this was the result, and I went to this page and I was, glad to see a news story about it, some journalist, whatever, and so I clicked here and I went there and I bought that. So,
Because it was a kind of continuity program, they couldn't cancel it. That was
most of these did have continuity and rebuild aspects to them as well, and that generated a lot of the consumer complaints, obviously.
okay.
Oh, yeah, I'll just quickly on Central Coast. The only reason I included this is a case against an advertiser specifically for the same type of products, but they made a point, the FTC did, about mentioning the fact that this advertiser was working with affiliate marketers doing Farticles and Flogs like that, and part of the order that this advertiser was put under is, includes those really stringent monitoring provisions I talked about. Prior review and approval and terminating and cut off, and they're so tough that it makes an advertiser put under order like that. It just makes it very difficult, if not impossible, for them to continue working with affiliate marketers at all. And that's why I say it kind of operates as a tantamount ban, even though it doesn't say you're banned.
So, I mean, in terms of, they're talking specifically here about Oprah Winfrey and Rachael Ray. I know that certainly Oprah's team were quite actively sought out. It was like, what's going to be the next big thing? And it was always like, whatever Oprah talks about was going to be the next big thing.
And it started, 4 years ago with Asai, and I think Oz, before he had his own show, he was doing a whole 60 Minutes on Oprah just about Asai, and sure as like within a week, it was all up in the web, and then Oprah and Oz finally did bring a huge lawsuit here in New York against 50 plus advertisers and 500 plus affiliates to crack down.
So Oprah actually took matters into her own hands to try and disassociate herself from the kind of practice that's going on.
Yeah, she probably had she was up to here, and then that just put her over the.
Can you go to the next one as an example?
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go. There she is.
So I mean,
Yeah, so this is one of the banners. I couldn't actually find an Oprah page, and the reason for that is I think the settlement asked all the affiliates to delete all traces of the page.
Yeah, the affiliates ended up paying very little, actually,
Yeah.
in settlement, but they did have to do that, yep.
Yeah.
Boy,
so-
Oprah looks great though, doesn't she?
She took a Cyanberry.
Yeah, and you can kind of see the same type of stuff going on here, like the fake news badges. It kind of builds brand trust, and obviously having a celebrity, everyone will buy it just because it's Oprah. And, you know, fake, like, supplies are limited, you know, all these claims, you know, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, so full scarcity, again, was one of the things that I think the FTC were quite...
Yeah, the FTC wouldn't sue if that were the one and only thing wrong with the page. They wouldn't sue over false scarcity. But if all this other bad stuff's going on, yeah, they're going to throw that into the mix too and mention that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is about the same. Rachael Ray was a big one that was being used as a weight loss model, supposedly. Yeah, the same type of stuff, you know. And it's not just weight loss. It's like the green tea, the African mango, raspberry ketones, all the same kind of stuff.
And it's because they're making bogus claims. I mean, if they can substantiate the information that they're claiming, then I guess they would have less of an issue.
Yeah, but there's other issues. Obviously, the fake celebrity endorsement, the
yeah.
fake, you know, implying that there's some connection or you know, approval there from a celebrity. That's all part of it. Yeah.
But what if this celebrity did actually endorse the product and they could kind of prove that had been done?
Well, they do, like Dr. Oz, this is one that's going around obviously a lot right now, is Dr. Oz, because he does do segments on various products. So he's done it on raspberry ketone, on green coffee, on whatever the random, you know, new diet product there is, as well as with a lot of other things. So a lot of marketers just take Dr. Oz's face or his name, his videos, pop it into their site, and use it. And the problem with that is that, again, when he's doing a segment on it, he's just discussing the product in general. He's not discussing your product. So when you're putting his face up there, his name up there, again, it's the same as with these Oprah ones. You're implying that he's endorsing your product. And Dr. Oz doesn't like that. Dr. Oz, I think, is one of the most litigious celebrities out there. He goes after everybody because it tarnishes his name. Because if you go take this product, maybe you did buy green coffee, you know, and maybe he did say that it works, but you go and buy something that's really just whatever, calcium in a pill, and you get upset, it hurts his name because then he has, you know, people calling in his customer service, his television show, trying to get refunds. A lot of them, too, where the problem becomes is, as you were saying, the continuity programs, which there's nothing wrong with continuity as long as you're clearly and conspicuously disclosing the terms of the offer. So if you're going to give someone a free, you know, 30-day trial, and then they're going to get billed $39.95 for 5 months if they don't return it, that's fine as long as you told them ahead of time that's what they were doing and they knew that's what was happening. But for most of these, they don't. It's disclosed somewhere on page 6 of the terms and conditions, which is in a little link somewhere on the edge, or it's in gray 8-point font down in the bottom corner and you can't see it. So you have a lot of people very upset because they're getting charged every month. They can't cancel because they don't know where the ad came from now. There's no number to cancel, so they're calling Dr. Oz, they're calling these different people, and they're complaining, and obviously Dr. Oz knows nothing about it. So you have not just the fake claims, the problems with the FTC and regulatory agencies coming after you. You also have celebrities, different companies like Dr. Oz coming after you because you're using his name, maybe you're using his logo is trademarked. Any of those things, you can then be sued by that person. And we see a lot of that right now. Everything is, I think every ad that I see right now has, you know, just a bunch of random logos thrown on there. There'll be CNN, CBS, all of these. There'll be like Vogue magazine, all these different ones, and people are just copying, pasting logos randomly and putting it onto their ad. Obviously, those logos belong to somebody else, and if they notice, you get a cease and desist saying, take my logo off. You know, you're implying that we're endorsing your product when we're not. A lot of those, you see Walmart a lot is the big one. Everyone puts Walmart. I don't know why.
So Susannah, what's the network's kind of view on all this sort of stuff?
Well, I mean, these are all the legal issues, but there's also issues with the trust that's built between an affiliate and a network, obviously, is broken. And then there's the wariness of the big brands to work with the networks because there's such a wide array of all this fraud. It hurts the industry long term, in terms of what we can do.
And obviously there's a sort of a waterfall effect. If the advertiser's not paid you, can't pay the affiliates.
Right, and then we're all left, holding the bag, so to speak. So one publisher hurts the rest of the legitimate traffic that doesn't get paid out on either, so.
Yeah. So I think we've got another example here of a fake geo-targeted banner. Do you want to kind of talk us through this one, Vlad?
Yeah, so what a lot of ad networks do now is they have IP address detection, so they can actually detect where the person is, and right on the banner it says, I live in Santa Monica, so that's why that said Santa Monica. If you live in like New York, it would say New York. And that it has nothing to do with Santa Monica, but just having that geo-targeted, people see it and they're like, oh wow, Santa Monica, that's here. So they kind of like believe it more and click on it more. And I think it's fraudulent because it has, nothing to do with Santa Monica.
I think the other interesting thing with this is it's got a Facebook button there with 19,000 likes.
Oh yeah.
Right. Which legitimizes it, right?
Which
Yeah.
that tells people, this must be
Oh,
good.
I can trust this. Oh, I can count on this, right?
And the crazy part is this, I got this from MSNBC.com, so this is a top website. It's a news channel that everyone watches. And they don't seem to have a problem with just putting up these kinds of ads on there. And obviously it says, it makes a claim for a biz op that this mom made like $7,000 in a month working from home. And that's probably bogus, I'm going to eventually guess.
Would MSNBC not be guilty by association by the fact they're actually running these ads? I mean...
No, because it's just coming in a news feed. So they've got to plug in on their website with a news feed, and they don't have any connection with the actual advertiser behind this ad. It's probably coming, through Google. It's just a feed on the side. So they don't know any of these. The problem, though, with these is once you actually click through to it, which I went ahead and did, is it takes you obviously to a biz op where there's some claim, some woman, Jenny, somebody or another, who lives in Santa Monica and has made all this money just by working part-time by buying this program that's $59.95 a month. Obviously, lots of people run those. We see those everywhere. And the problem with those is that there is no Jenny, whatever her name is, in Santa Monica. Because if I click on that same ad here, it says Jenny, whoever from New York. So they're just completely making it up, completely making up a random person, making up her life story about her kids and how it was a week before her daughter's birthday and she wanted to buy her some Christmas presents and, they go on and on and on, and she found this great program. So it's not just that there's this little ad that's obviously bogus and this draws people in, but once you actually get there, the entire program and the ad is bogus.
But I think it was also like, specifically on the sort of biz op stuff, it would be $59.95 or whatever it was a month. But what you would then have is you would have a situation where the leads would be passed to a coaching floor.
Right.
They would then phone the people up and sell them like a $3,000 or $5,000
Exactly.
coaching program,
Right.
and basically take all the money that they've got
Yeah.
on all their credit cards. It's like, how much money have you got on credit cards? $5,000. That's how much it's going to cost.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of the complaints were about, was the fact that they've taken everything I've got.
I'm not sure why you're saying past tense, since this happens every single day. And there's lots of these companies, obviously, here at the convention, and lots of people still running these ads, which is how we pulled this up from last week.
Yeah, I pulled it it took me like 2 minutes to find it, and I'm sure everyone here has seen stuff like this. It's not like some kind of weird, like, hidden website that's completely out there mainstream.
Okay, and this is an example of a non-compliant page.
It's the same. Vlad pulled this one last week as well, or a couple weeks ago. Same. Obviously, we see these everywhere. Trick for tiny belly. Reporter loses 27 pounds with less than $10. And not to say that whatever African fruit they're selling maybe is good for you. Maybe
I love the spelling mistake. Less than $10.
Right.
The reporter.
I actually had a comment about this. This page is actually, it's non-compliant, we know that for a fact, but as you can see, it's a little more tame than the one we showed earlier. There's no, it doesn't say like news, it doesn't have the logos.
CNN, right.
So,
Bordering on a lifestyle
Right.
sort of
Yeah.
page, but
I think that's something maybe we should discuss, how people think they can get away with it because they don't specifically say like news. Like this doesn't say news anywhere. I don't
Right,
think.
it's just getting
Well,
rid
it
of News
says
Channel
help with
6
news.
doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily make it compliant. It's really the whole totality of what's on the page. I mean, are there other little bells and whistles that make it look like a news article, a news report by an independent journalist? You can be non-compliant in that way without having a header that says News Channel 6.
Right.
Another one we see a lot of now is where the affiliate will put advertorial in really tiny gray letters at the top, and then go ahead with the entire page, making it look like it's a news site, making up random stuff about African fruit melting pounds away. Putting that little gray advertorial word at the top doesn't make any difference at all.
Or the little gray fine print disclaimers at the bottom. Oh, MSNBC, or Vogue doesn't, doesn't endorse this, and you can't just have a fake XYZ at the top and then tiny print at the bottom. Oh, by the way, not fake XYZ.
Why don't you, from being on a network, how is this difficult for you not being able to run these kind of pages when they're making so much money?
Well, yeah, I mean, you make a lot of money in the short term, and I think that obviously is the appeal for being non-compliant, is these publishers see an opportunity to make, hundreds of thousands of dollars very quickly, and think they're not going to get caught, or maybe aren't thinking the long term. But if we want performance marketing to be legitimate and respectable in terms of the long term, what we need to really consider is being compliant and avoiding FTC, getting involved in our business, and also having a reputation as a network. You begin to look unprofessional at the least, but also criminal. And then there's a wariness to work with new publishers, of course, because there's the lack of trust there. I mean, it trickles down for years and years and years, and ultimately the goal is for longevity in the business. We all want to continue to do business, and I think there's an importance to really present ourselves as if we are professional. I mean, I think that's
And it's this sort of activity that's keeping a lot of the bigger brands away from.
Yes, I mean,
performance
absolutely,
marketing.
because of the concerns, and Oprah has a huge following, as does Dr. Oz and whatnot. And speaking of, you hear about this in the actual real news about performance marketing, and there's such a bad reputation about it because of this, and so you can't go after the bigger brands in the same way because we haven't really earned that respect, which is frustrating, because there is potential there to do great business. So.
Okay.
Vlad?
Oh, okay. This is another component of what people sometimes do, and this one is actually kind of hidden at the bottom. But they try to upsell you with fake coupons and such, and say that you need to use both these products, so like they get them twice, and it's completely bogus. And it says hurry, it's going to run out soon and it's going to expire today or tomorrow or whatever, and it works. So people kind of fall for it. So
And that's just a simple JavaScript that kind
yeah,
of will create a
it just
date
looks
plus
at your date,
however many.
the date on your computer, and it just plugs it in, and it says expires that day, and it doesn't really expire. You can come back tomorrow and buy it.
And some of the FTC cases against advertisers specifically go after either forced upsells or really inadequately disclosed upsells where there's, the continuity rebill information is either hard to find or just doesn't exist at all. And that's what generates the most complaints.
Well, and the problem with this for a lot of affiliates is that you get these ads from the network that you're working with, who's got them from an advertiser. You may not even look at it. Your affiliate manager might just say, this is our best performing asset. You pop it in and you run it. You don't look at it. You're not noticing things. This might have already been in there, expires July. The code might already be in there, or your AM tells you, hey, this is the way to do it. This is helping conversions, and you have no idea that it's not okay to do that. You can't create, a false sense of urgency just by making things up. But for affiliates, I think it's really hard sometimes because you don't know. You trust that the network you're working with is giving you an ad that complies with the law and isn't going to get you in trouble. And I think until the Copiac action last year, I think affiliates pretty much skated by. They go after the advertisers. Right. Once in a while, a large network. But then this time, 9 of the 10 people that were sued were affiliates. Affiliates you guys know, affiliates I know. And then, that expanded out to having those affiliates turn over lists of their networks, all the networks they worked with, and then going after all the other networks. So
or
then
subpoenaing all the other networks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then we got tons and tons of subpoenas to lots of networks who are all here, not here in the audience, but here figuratively, who then had to do the same thing. So it reached out much bigger than in the past, but the majority of the people who got hit were affiliates. And I think affiliates have a misconception a lot of the time that they're immune from complying with these rules. Oh, well, the advertiser told me to do it, or the network told me to do it. I'm not going to get in trouble. They are. And now, the FTC is just not buying that argument anymore. They're holding everybody responsible from the advertiser all the way down to the affiliate. So you can't just get away anymore by pointing back at your network.
And in the early days, the FTC, the problem that they had was they didn't have enough resource. But they're
Still don't.
increasing.
They're dedicated.
Yeah, I mean, their internet fraud cases were pretty basic, in Web 1.0, and they just didn't have enough resources to really figure out what was going on and the extent of it and how to attack it. But they caught up quickly.
Okay, I think the last example we've got a name-dropping exit pop-up.
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting because the actual page before that, it kind of doesn't break that many rules, but then when you try to close it, it brings up Dr. Oz, so it's kind of like they're kind of like hiding it. Like Dr. Oz isn't going to see this page unless he actually clicks on it. But yeah, it's the same thing. What does it say there? It's a limited time trial, fake upsell, dropping Dr. Oz just to sell the product. And, it's really bad.
And obviously the $4.95, it's a kind of low price point, and a lot of
Right.
people, I'll go with that. They don't really realize that it's $40 a month,
they take
but they've
your,
got your credit card details. Then at that point, you're
It's
kind of
too
stuck.
late. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sarah, do you want to talk us through the not so free trials?
Yes, this would be my favorite. No. Obviously, everyone's seen these, the free trials. And again, as we were discussing a little bit earlier, there's nothing wrong with having a free trial as long as you're clearly and conspicuously disclosing, the terms of the free trial. You can't just hide it somewhere down at the bottom and not have anybody know about it. There's been a number of cases over the last year, 2 years, from the FTC regarding these free trials, as well as just other examples of continuity where you're signing somebody up not only for $4.95 for your African mango pure lose 20 pounds, and then a month later you get hit with $39.95 and again, but maybe taking it a step further, and then when you click yes, I agree to the terms and conditions, somewhere in the terms and conditions it says that you're also signing up for the Savings of the Month Club for $19.95 a month, and the Travel Savings Club for another, $29.95 a month. And you end up with all these charges on your credit card that you don't have any idea where they came from, because you never, when you bought that African mango pure, you never had any clue that you were signing up for all these other things as well. Obviously, these free trials, they're not really free. They cost a lot. A lot of them, and I see this all the time. I just saw one about a week ago, which was a 14-day free trial for some product, except that it said that your product will ship out in 10 to 14 business days. But you had to return it within 14 days in order to not be charged the $99.95, which I think I'm not that great at math, but I'm good enough at math to know that if they don't ship it for 10 days, it's not going to get to my house, and I'm going to get to try it and call in for a return authorization number and ship it back to them so they receive it within 14 days. And that was actually for a really big product that probably people in here are running, or a lot of people are running right now. So we see a lot of those where if you actually complied with their terms, sure, you could probably get the product for free, but they make it so it's impossible. Maybe there's no 800 number for you to call so you can actually return it. There's no address on there. Nobody answers when you call the customer service, or they just give you the runaround and don't get back to you. One of the big ones, obviously I'm sure everyone's heard about, was the Jesse Whelms, and they, this is my favorite part. Well, not this part, but they got a judgment of $359 million against him. Obviously, he doesn't have that much money, but they've gone through and just taken everything that he did have, including his fur coat, which is my favorite.
That's pretty
Must
funny.
be a very expensive fur coat.
Very
Must
nice.
be. But they basically went to his house and they cleaned out his house.
Do they take the shirt off your back?
Well, they took the fur coat off his back.
Right, but I mean, do they just take all your stuff?
They take it.
All of it, like your underwear and your socks?
Anything of value, right?
Tom, why don't you explain a little bit the process of how they come in and seize your bank accounts and.
Right, so in what the FTC views as the most hardcore consumer fraud, online consumer fraud cases, they typically won't contact the defendant beforehand. They'll investigate undercover. They'll gather all this information from, ad networks, platforms. Pulse 360 gave them all this information on the 10 affiliate marketer cases. And just a variety of third-party sources. They gather consumer complaints from their own system and from the BBBs and the state attorney generals. They put it all together. They go into court without notice to the other side. They ask the judge for a temporary restraining order with an asset freeze and appointment of a receiver to basically take over the business temporarily. And before you know it, you're hit with this TRO that has all these bells and whistles in it, and you're pretty much shut down. Again, temporarily, but it usually works out to be permanently.
It's a permanently temporary ban.
Right, the temporary receiver becomes a permanent receiver. The asset freeze stays in place for the duration of the action until it goes to trial or until a settlement's reached, and you're pretty much through by the end of the case.
How do the affiliates seek counsel if their assets are all frozen? How do they pay the lawyer to do the case?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So not all asset freezes that the FTC seeks are created equal. I know some of these cases they brought against advertisers like Central Coast and others, they pretty much shut them down, and they make it very difficult, if not impossible, to pay attorney's fees because you have to ask the FTC or the court to release part of the freeze to pay the attorney's fees. The affiliates got a little bit of a break because their asset freeze was sort of watered down. It was called an asset preservation provision in the order. Oops. And basically, each affiliate was given X thousands of dollars per month. It varied within these 10 cases, but they were allowed, so much money per month for any type of business and personal expenses, and that had to include whatever they needed to spend on attorney's fees. If they wanted more than what the FTC would agree to in the temporary order, then they had to go back and ask the FTC for more or ask the court for more. But at least it wasn't a blanket freeze like some of the advertiser cases.
Yeah, I had one where I actually had the FTC take my client's retainer from me. They actually made me give it to them out of my trust account.
Wow.
They made
Yes.
you. Was that one of the affiliate cases?
No, it was last year. It was another for an advertiser.
What do you mean made you? Like, did they?
They call and they say the money in your retainer, or the retainer that you have, the money in your trust account is part of the asset freeze. It belongs to the client
Because
technically.
you're holding it on behalf of or for the benefit of that client.
And they say, here's our wire info, please send it over.
Okay. What if you just say no?
Well, I'm not going to say no.
Okay. I'm just wondering what the.
I
how
like
much,
my job.
I'm trying to determine how much authority does the FTC have? Can they just?
They have as little or as much as the court will give them in their temporary order. And lately, what I've seen is the more recent temporary restraining orders, the FTC has kind of written in the attorney trust account right into the order, and in terms of their huge definition of asset for asset freeze, and they'll write it right into the order. And if they can get a judge to sign it, that's it. I mean,
Right.
the attorney's going to have to cough up the trust money.
Yes. Not fun.
Nope.
So we've got some simple tips to be legit. Do you want to talk through?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyone?
I think I wrote these. So yeah, basically, if you're making false claims, you're gonna know yourself personally. So don't do it at all. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's really just common sense. Like you'll know if you're making false claims. There's no gray area about it. Is there actually a news report? No. Is there actually a expiration date? No. So it's pretty simple. I see this a lot too. A lot of people kind of get stuck on these trouble offers. Like people only run skincare offers or diet offers and just don't want to do any other niche because they feel like it's easier and more profitable. But if you just avoid these niches, you do dating or like gaming. There's very hard to break.
By gaming, he does not mean online gambling.
No.
No.
Like
So
games.
why
Video
is
games.
dating included in this? Because clearly, in a lot of cases, you've got false pictures. The people that the pictures are of are not the real people.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about that when we go to Facebook. But
Okay.
dating is a little bit harder to screw up. I haven't really heard of anyone getting too much trouble for dating.
In addition to weight loss, I would
That's
say
why
any
continuity
lethal
program.
disease-related cure-prevent claims,
Right.
cancer, heart disease, diabetes, anything lethal disease-oriented, as well as weight loss. Skincare, troublesome, but maybe not quite as bad as the ones I just said. But it all depends what claims you're making.
But they're,
Well,
yeah,
and
they're
it's the photos law of the time.
Right. celebrities.
See how
and-
she lost 50 years, and,
Right.
and you see this, 20-year-old model on one side, and then they've added some wrinkles on the other side of her face for the photo. Obviously, it's not real. But you'd be surprised how many, dumb people actually think that's real, and they buy the product. Not everybody is, that smart in America.
That is true.
Do you have something?
I did have something, now I forgot, but
In
It'll
BizOp,
come
I would
back.
include any money-making opportunity, whether or not it's a BizOp. Grants, scholarships,
free money.
business coaching, free money, Google Money Tree, just the list goes on.
Because I know a lot of them kind of got shut down before they got to the FTC because certainly Visa and MasterCard took a
Right.
dim view. Google certainly took a dim view.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's an awful lot that's still filtered through and is sort of be there now.
Well, and there's a lot of other rules. We're not going to get into the, business opportunity rules, but obviously those have, changed as well. And we haven't seen them really applied too much to online marketing yet. But a lot of the BizOps that we see do fall under those new guidelines and should really be giving out the ridiculous disclosures, along with selling that BizOp. And then you have other things like you have some states that regulate it. I think it's South Dakota. You have to register your BizOp with South Dakota if you're going to run one in their state. People don't realize that. So you run, obviously when you're sending out emails, you're not excluding South Dakota. You're not excluding South Dakota from your banner ads. So they click on it, and then you get a call from South Dakota saying, well, why are you selling this here when you didn't register it? And many of the states have different rules on this that you never know, and you can't avoid all of those states when you're, mass marketing. One. I'll take the next one. Don't state facts and figures unless they're substantiated. If your product or your ad says, lose 10 pounds, well, then you should ask the advertiser, hey, do you have proof that you lose 10 pounds on this? If it says, you'll save $323 on your car insurance, then you ask the advertiser, do you actually have proof that all your consumers are saving this much money? Because most of the time, I think they just make up a number and throw it on the ad. And if, you get caught doing that, the FTC comes and asks, or State Attorney General does, you say, well, I don't know. There's no facts behind that. Maybe they're only saving $5 each. And that's another thing that people don't do, and you really need to go to your advertiser and ask them, do they have proof to back it up?
Sarah, I've been hearing that some advertisers may actually give you fake stuff, so you need an affidavit. How does the process work to verify the claims the advertiser gives you?
Well, if you go to your advertiser and you ask them for, something to substantiate the claims that they're making, and they give it to you, if the advertiser gives you fake information, there's not a lot you can do about that, I think. I don't think that's the kind of thing that you're going to get hit as an affiliate for if you've gone through the effort of going to your advertiser, asking them for proof, they give it to you, and turns out the proof they gave is misleading or it's just made up. I don't think that's the kind of thing that you're
it's on
really
there.
going to
Be
be
on the hook
popped
for.
Right.
I think it just adds some additional sort of layers to the onboarding process as a publisher in terms of offer selection. You need to put in some additional layers of comfort for your own benefit.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's also, with the next point, if the offer appears sketchy, it probably is.
Right.
If you're running some sketchy offer that says, you're going to lose 50 pounds in 10 days, and the advertiser gives you all this proof, come on. You have to use your common sense too. Just because they give you proof of something, if it's just outrageous and outlandish, that's not good enough to have that proof.
Yeah, and even though the only party, who's doing business with the consumer is the advertiser, there's, affiliates and all sorts of other third parties that the FTC is now seeking to hold liable. And it's for all these third parties, whether you're an affiliate or any other type of third party, the standard is pretty much, knew or should have known. And if the FTC thinks you knew or should have known something was
You're on the
deceptive
hook.
or false or unsubstantiated, they're going to hold you liable even though you're a third party and you didn't sell directly to consumers.
When you're actually working with advertisers, how do you do this?
Well, a couple things I was going to say about the advertiser. If the advertiser I don't trust completely, and they're giving me information that I don't feel maybe is necessarily true, I don't think I'll push it to my affiliates, because my relationship with my affiliates is very important. And as a network, I want my reputation as part of a network to be that the offers that I have are valid and not going to come hit you, because affiliates talk to each other. And if there's issues with the FTC, they're going to say, hey, Susannah's pushing offers that are getting me in trouble with the law. So that's not going to be very good for my business. So I try to, there are places to run continuity programs, like you said, in legitimate ways. And so it's really important for the transparency with both advertisers and my publishers, and be aware of what I'm pushing. There's a lot of affiliate managers out there who just don't look at what they're pushing or promoting and just say, like, this banner is great, but don't ever look at the banner.
I mean, I think the network's role is really to protect the affiliates from the advertisers.
Absolutely.
And protect the advertisers from the affiliates.
That is our job, and that is our role, really. What is the value of a network? I mean, we can get into that at another time, but that is a huge part of it, is that I'm supposed to absorb a lot of the risk for the affiliate base, and also I have the trust of these agencies and branded advertisers that I am going to promote their offer in the way that they want to be promoted. So my function really is to ensure that I do that, because my reputation's on the line. And there is a way to do that. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort. It just takes being aware and communicating, and then we can all avoid these kind of issues.
Okay, I want to try and move on, because I want to make sure there's enough time for sort of questions. Very quickly. Do you want to cover off these points, Sarah?
Go right ahead, Jim.
Okay.
Covered.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, don't lie, it's a big thing. Another thing direct linking, I think that's how I run most of my offers now. I don't make the landing page, so that just takes care of all that.
Yeah, it does.
So try it, it might work.
Yeah, so just ask the right questions, and if you don't get the right answers, then pass and move on and pick another offer.
Yeah, always ask. As an affiliate, definitely ask your affiliate manager, if you have if there is a gray area, or you'd like to promote in a certain way, or you want to use a certain copy, get the copy approved, or say, I'm thinking of running it with CNN and Madonna. Is that cool? And see what we say.
And then just this slide that be creative.
Right.
Oh,
I absolutely love that picture on the left.
That's my slide. So correct me if I'm wrong, but my mindset in making the slide was the image on the left. It doesn't really say anything. It's not a before and after. So you're kind of being creative here. You're kind of conveying the same message, but you're not actually putting like the right image before and after. So correct me if I'm wrong, attorneys, but the picture on the left,
good, Vlad.
it's fine, right?
Yeah. And on the right, you've got multiple problems. I know everyone's doing better than Botox, but, I major in FTC, but I minor in FDA, and I know if you compare yourself to a drug, you can be treated as a drug. So that's a huge risk right there.
Yeah, the Acid Peel of the Month Club.
When it's going on Facebook.
Yeah.
Vlad, do you want to start with explaining just a little bit about Facebook advertising?
Yeah. For those that don't know, Facebook advertising is just self-serve ads you create. You pick an image, you see it on your Facebook on the right, and I guess all the rules still apply, right?
Yes. So with Facebook, obviously everyone's doing Facebook advertising now. And all the same rules that apply to any other kind, that apply to email, that apply to banner, false advertising rules, they all still apply to Facebook. Just because you're on Facebook doesn't mean that all rules go out the window and you can promote any way that you want. If you're endorsing a product, you have to disclose that. If you have testimonials, are they paid? Are they accurate? Are they real testimonials, or are you just making them up? All the same rules apply to Facebook as they apply everywhere else.
But certainly Facebook are letting a lot more through than, say, Google would be in terms of...
Sure. I mean, I think they're kind of stepping up now and starting to crack down on the kinds of ads that are coming through, because now it's becoming a problem when the majority of what's showing up on your face on your wall is ads, it's spam. They're starting to crack down now because users are complaining.
Okay, this is a news report about someone basically took a photo of a dead soldier from somewhere they found it and put dating ads up. And, obviously that's a pretty traumatizing experience if you're a family member or someone that knows a person. So basically what happened here was a family member saw it and it was an ad for, I think, True, what does it say there? True.com. Well, it doesn't matter what it is.
Fish, yeah.
Yeah, and they don't know who made that ad, like the affiliate, if you direct linked especially. So they go actually and they go after Facebook because they think Facebook or Plenty of Fish is the one running the ad, and they'll go after the merchant, so True.com, which kind of poisons the well for everyone because Facebook doesn't want to deal with this kind of stuff. It's not their fault, and they can't, check every image if it's a dead soldier or not. So they'll just crack down on affiliates. Same with True.com. So it kind of just, poisons the well for everyone. So that's
Hurts
why.
the business.
Yeah, it hurts the industry. Period.
Another thing about Facebook that a lot of people, I think, don't realize and that hasn't exactly been settled yet is whether or not the messages that you're sending on Facebook, if CAN spam applies to them. CAN spam obviously applies to email, but CAN spam doesn't actually say that. It just defines it as commercial messages or commercial electronic messages. And what you're sending through Facebook, they're commercial electronic messages, in my opinion. Earlier this year, we had 2 related cases. The state of Washington and Facebook both sued AdSend Media. They settled out the case because it was things that their affiliates were doing. But what the Attorney General argued and had in their consent decree was that commercial electronic messages includes social networking communications. They said, under circumstances in which an electronic message is not delivered to an inbox, but rather to locations on social networking sites, such as wall posts, news feeds, home pages, page suggestions, and similar destinations. So what the Attorney General is saying is that CAN spam applies to Facebook, which I'm not exactly sure how that's going to play out yet. Obviously, when you're posting up, a message on someone's wall, you don't have an unsubscribe link. You don't have a disclosure that this message is an advertisement. But what the Attorney General here was saying is that those rules still apply. You need to disclose it's an advertisement. You need to have a way for that person to opt out of getting those messages on their wall.
Things like the page suggestions, Facebook actually make those recommendations and use your name as a, Sarah DiDiego likes this.
Yeah. So I think that this is something that we'll see shortly coming down from the FTC or a larger case where it won't just settle out and we'll actually get a definition of how Facebook, advertising should be. This one, their affiliates can't use false misleading headers on Facebook. They have to identify that the message is an advertisement, and they have to monitor their affiliate program, I think.
Did that sync them, the network?
No.
Okay.
They're here. AdSend Media, they're a company. But their affiliates, this happens. Their affiliates are doing things that, aren't legitimate, and it's, the network that gets hit first.
So just to kind of wrap up the panel bit, and then we'll get to questions and answers. Obviously, affiliate fraud is going to hurt everyone within it. So advertisers are not going to pay for people that are doing it right if there are people that are doing it wrong. Offers will get pulled completely. So again, you might be making 60-70% of your revenue from a great offer, and then that offer vanishes because somebody does something that pushes the boundaries, and they end up getting sued. Obviously, bigger brand advertisers don't want to try affiliate marketing because it just, if that happens, then there's obviously less offers to choose from. It's seen as scammy. Clearly, it's not the sort of thing you want to have because it's negative publicity. And obviously the regulators are getting much more heavily involved, partly due to a better understanding of the actual marketplace, but also they've got more resource available to do it.
Right.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to come round and get the microphone. Is it? Yeah. Are there any questions from the audience? Typical, right at the back.
Run, Jim, run.
Go.
Run.
While Jim's going
Run
back
faster.
there, one thing I'll throw out in terms of more regulation by the feds, definitely more third-party liability cases are going to come, and that can be, it can be affiliate marketers, it could be networks, it could be payment processors, it can be call centers, all sorts of third parties, sort of assisting and facilitating the fraud, allegedly.
Okay, so a quick question about Facebook testimonials. We run a page and we have a lot of customers that share pictures and make posts to our wall. And what's worked for us is to then share those posts to all of our likes And my question is, when doing that, do we need to mention what typical results are? Or is it enough to just share that legitimate customer post on our wall to all of our user base that have liked us?
I don't see a problem with just sharing what consumers have posted. It's not any different than if you have just a regular landing page and you have, a commenting section. What people are putting up on your blog or on your Facebook page, as long as they're legitimate and you're not just making them up, that's their opinion. You've got their picture there. I assume their name is there. You'd be able to point to them and say, hey, I don't know this person. They put this ad up there. And that's not to say that if your Facebook page is promoting something and claiming things that aren't true, then yes, of course you should have disclaimers.
Got it. And if the FTC does bring up a litigation, do you have any numbers on the average cost to fight that? And what is the success rate of the FTC?
A lot.
Especially you, Tom.
The success rate is very good. They cherry pick and, they pick the low-hanging fruit. They bring the easiest cases they think that don't have any gray areas. And that's how they don't bring the tough cases. They bring the fairly easy ones based on the facts. And depending on whether the defendants want to fight or not, it can cost, tens of thousands. It can cost hundreds of thousands, depending on how long the case goes on before it settles, if it settles, and how much questions, discovery is just another word for, all sorts of written questions and requests for documents. Sometimes the FTC will engage in lots and lots of discovery before they'll even start talking settlement. And that alone, in my experience, can be, a few $100,000 just to go through that process.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And one last thing, going back to the CNN, and that's something that we've seen our affiliates do a lot, where they say, NBC, CNN, and something that we want to do as well in our ads, obviously, where we have been featured by, for instance, Wired Magazine. But we haven't been featured by the BBC, but our competitors have. But we want to say that our product category has been seen in these publications. Where do you draw the line between, you can say that, this type of product has been seen in these places, or do you just have to say that your brand has been seen in those places?
I don't think it's that there's really like a hard and fast line. It's more whether it's misleading. Are you using their logos to imply that they've endorsed your product? Are you implying that they are endorsing your product, that your product's been seen on that channel when it really hasn't? No one's going to notice the difference between you saying that this product has been, but not my product. People aren't that smart. They just aren't. So if you're, implying that it was on this show, people are going to think it really was on that show. So you have the false advertising problem, but you also have the problem that BBC or whoever it is will send you a cease and desist letter and say, stop using our logo. We don't know you. We're not endorsing your product. You were never, on our show.
Right, and regardless of whether you have a disclaimer at the bottom that disclaims that connection, you're still probably get a takedown notice. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to know how, realistically, does the FTC expect a network or a merchant to monitor every single page of every single affiliate website 24 hours, 7 days a week?
I ask that question all the time. My clients ask me that question all the time too. It's all I know is what the FTC attorneys have told me. They don't like the current model, and they want to root out every piece of fake content. And if they have to rewrite the model and force networks to come up with something different, like far fewer advertisers or far fewer affiliates, down to a manageable number that they really can, know for sure that they're doing good stuff and not bad stuff. The FTC doesn't really care. They just want to change the current model and let business figure out some new model.
Does that argument hold water?
Well, in terms of whether that argument holds water or not depends on if anyone sued by the FTC has enough time and money to fight them up until and through trial or a summary judgment motion. It really hasn't been litigated at this point. It's just settlements.
It's never gotten that far where they've said,
No, the ones I've seen so far have not gotten that far. They usually result in settlements. And all I can say is that that's sort of the FTC's position. It's kind of unreasonable, and they write these provisions in these orders that, to me, make it virtually impossible for certainly a network to continue using affiliate marketing, or if it's against an advertiser, for that advertiser to continue using affiliate marketing. But then the FTC's position is, well, you should have operated non-deceptively before, and now that you've sued, this is the order you're going to have to take.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that the offer is being run in the middle of the night on a bad ad doesn't mean that it's okay. I mean, if you kill someone during the day or you kill someone in the middle of the night, you're still breaking the law. There's no difference, and whether it's you or it's your affiliate or number 10,000 of your affiliates, you're still breaking the law.
Okay. Did you guys all agree in advance to just send your...
Give Jim a workout.
So I think my question probably more directed at Susannah than it piggybacks off of this discussion, because what we're seeing, we're a name brand advertiser, and we have robust compliance. But what we see is the Cheeto eaters, the kind of publishers who are out there are changing our creative, even though we do not authorize that. And when we look at our networks, we see two things happening. We see the large networks like Google and Commission Junction, who are robust and do have the ability to do compliance, creating a tiered network where we have a direct relationship with the publishers, so they're saying they're agnostic. Right? They're like, we're not policing, you have direct terms with the publishers, if the publishers do something wrong, go after them.
So they wash their hands of it, okay.
Right, and then the middle networks that we deal with, kind of the medium-sized networks, are saying we don't have the resources to do compliance. So as an advertiser, we don't like those answers, because Google and CJ do have the ability to do more policing. And the mid-sized networks, you're making money, so why is it going to take an FTC action for you to do more?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for all networks, obviously, and that answer doesn't satisfy me either. I mean, why would you work with a middle-level network if they can't do the compliance? You wouldn't, to be honest, and I wouldn't if I were an advertiser. So there needs to be that compliance there and that commitment to protecting your brand, or I would understand why you wouldn't want to work with the network. I don't know what it would take for all networks. I would say that the network that I choose to work for, we have compliance, and we make sure to protect the brand because I want the long-term business. I don't know that...
There's definitely tools around to kind of...
Right, there definitely are tools, and I don't know how many, you don't need a lot of manpower, you just need quality manpower.
We have tools, but do you see more of a trend, I guess, in medium-sized networks?
You know what, I mean, it depends. Some networks don't seem to really take it very seriously, and I don't know what they're waiting for, to be frank. But I distance myself from that kind of a model, and definitely the network that I work for, yes, very compliant and very strict about it. And sometimes it is frustrating because we don't get to compete as quickly with some of the other networks because they seem to be booming with all these offers that we aren't able to run until they are, verified. But in the long term, it's going to help us and help our business, help our reputation. And also, I meant to say earlier, when one affiliate isn't compliant and creates a bunch of issues for an advertiser, and the advertiser doesn't pay, the advertiser often doesn't pay legitimate traffic as well. So all the publishers, all the affiliates that are running appropriately also don't get paid. And then, I mean, it just creates such wreckage and disharmony. It's really hurtful. So, I would say I would not work with a network that's not willing to protect your brand, period. I mean,
it's really your business
ever.
judgment. Yeah,
And
it
why
sounds
would
like you already have enough choices that you can vote with your...
And I
do more vetting on the network.
Well, and I would say, and it takes time because a lot of people may not be forthcoming with what really their practices are. And obviously, there's the sales pitch aspect to it. But let me say this, the networks, the model that I've noticed that's different is private networks working only with mailers that people know personally and have worked with for a long time. There's not this public network sort of get as many pubs as you possibly can without knowing anything about them, because it was like the Wild West and it was a huge mess. So I have seen a bit more sort of caution in terms of how, as a network manager, you go after new affiliates. Like, if you don't know who that person is, I'm not comfortable working with somebody I don't know.
Okay, great. I think we've got time for maybe one more question and then we need to wrap up. So, last question. If not, I will send you guys on your way. The keynote speech is upstairs, I believe, at 3:30. I think
Yeah.
The exhibition hall is still open until 4. Can you guys all join me in thanking the panel for great information?
Thanks.